There we go.
Okay.
Hey, that's how that's how quick he was at that receiver spot. He wouldn't know. You know what I'm saying? You see him and then you don't. You know,
he hit us with a double move, huh?
Yeah, double move right there.
Yeah, but first and foremost, I appreciate y'all having me on the show. I'm a fan of the show. Been watching y'all get it in. Cuzzo, you know, man, how we go. Congratulations on getting the job, man. You know, I think you're gonna fit right in. You've been talking shit since day one, so
of course,
man, it won't nothing change, man.
No doubt.
Kobe, you know how we go, man. Back, I used to come watch you play when I was in the league, man. So that's what's up, man. And to everybody else, man, how y'all doing?
Welcome.
Welcome, OG, man. It's a pleasure. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you on.
Hey, look, Fredo, before we get into the interview, why don't we go around and introduce yourselves to Shep? Let them know.
I'll start. Leslie, I'm Camila, but I go by Mills Lane. I've been on the show for I think almost 2 years now.
Okay.
But I'm the voice of reason on the podcast.
I got you. You get a female presence. We need that.
Absolutely.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Nice to meet you, sweetheart.
Nice to meet you.
I go next. Mo Money. I'm a little bit of anything and everything you want me to be. Come on, make sure you come correct.
There it is.
So it was definitely a pleasure to meet you. I remember seeing you giving us the business back in the day.
Okay. Yeah, I should give it to the Cowboys a lot. Yep.
Yes, you did. Even though you had some of the worst quarterbacks in NFL history, you gave us that work. So I respect it. I respect it.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, OG. Yeah, I'm Fredo, man. Like I said, I've been here since day one, man. And I just bring that passion and energy, man. And we just have fun with it, bro. Everybody is themselves authentically at the end of the day. And I mean, we just have fun, man. We got such a good vibe. And again, man, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you aboard, champ.
Appreciate it, man. Much love to you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's get started. So Shep, we know what type of outstanding athlete that you became. Division I, big time football, Temple University, several teams in the NFL. But you know, we all loved you when you was with the home team with the Redskins.
Right.
But I like to start with the foundation. When did that button click for you where you knew you were a special athlete? And was it football that you knew that you were going to be playing, or was there some other sports that you were leaning towards at one point?
Well, you know, first and foremost, I got a big family. Y'all know that. So, you know, growing up in Alexandria, you know, I didn't grow up there, but as a youngin', that's where I spent most of my time. You know, I was born and raised in Alexandria, grew up in Maryland, but I spent most of my youth in Alexandria with all my cousins and all that. And, you know, when we was young, we all knew we had ability to play. We was athletic and all that, but I was just kind of scratching the surface at that time. Once I got a little older, got to college, got to high school and junior high, and I started competing with other cats, I kind of realized I was a little different from everybody else. I was a track guy, a football guy, and a basketball guy. But when I was on that gridiron, I kind of felt like, you know, I was always the best. So that's kind of where I, you know, kind of decided I was going to go. But I enjoyed sports as a youth, man. I didn't really take it that serious. It didn't get serious to me until I kind of got a little older and started getting focused on, you know, college and life after, you know, high school. Because, you know, when I was young, I just wanted to chase girls, hang out with the homies.
You too, huh?
You know, right. You know what I mean? So it wasn't that serious. It's not like these youngers today, man. They got, you know, personal trainers and all that. Trust me, man, football was just something I did to pass the time in sports. And after that, man, I just wanted to, you know, I wanted to holler at honeys.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Are you glad that you had track and other sports before you honed in on your skill? Are you glad that you started there so you can, you know, get your technique for running and all of these things? Because today kids are like, I hoop, I'm going to get me a trainer, and that's all I do. And growing up in the DMV, we all had, like, I did softball, track, basketball, you know, and all of that was good for me.
Right. Well, for me personally, I mean, I'm a sports guy. I mean, I didn't really sit down when I was a youngin' and watch TV. I was always outside. I was an outside youngin'. I wanted to be outside all day. That's what I did. We hooped all day or we played football and it wasn't organized. We threw the ball up and we picked it up and we had to get somewhere. It was throw a tackle. That's how I learned how to play football. So it was just different times. You know what I mean? You had your older uncles and your cousins and stuff playing with you. Now everybody, you know, kind of creating their own brand and everybody want to be a CEO. And these kids got all these accesses to the internet and things of that nature. So it's a different drive for them. We didn't really have that. You know what I mean? We was all about dreaming and hoping our dream came to fruition. I think everybody in the hood, everybody wanted to be in the NFL or play in the NBA. And we knew that was a small, slim chance. And I was just one of the few that was fortunate enough to make it out. But it's just a different time with these youngins now. You know what I mean? They try to, you know, they want to. And a lot of times, a lot of these kids are living life through their parents. You know what I mean? A lot of times, these parents are more ambitious than the kids are. I talk to parents all the time, and they want to tell me how good their child is, what their child can do. And I'm looking at the individual child, and the child looking at me like, you know, this is all him. You know what I mean? You know, and Oak can attest to this. He trained guys. You know, you can look in some of these kids' eyes and see if they're hungry or not. And these kids just a little bit more privileged than us. So the ambition ain't the same. You know what I mean? Football was my option. That's it. I didn't have no other option. That was it. It was either football or nothing. And that's the way I approached it.
Mo Money, what you got for Shep?
All right, cool. I'm gonna ask you some questions, just a couple of them, and I'll let everybody else go too.
All right.
So my first question is, you know, I didn't have to do much research. Like I said, I remember, especially that 98 season where you went crazy. So my question for you is, it seems like you were born in the wrong era, because back then they didn't utilize the slot receiver as they're utilizing them now, and they damn sure didn't pay them like they paying them now.
Great question.
If you could go back in time, one, what quarterback would you want to play with? And two, what team do you feel like in today's game would best utilize your skill set?
No, that's easy. It would be the 49ers, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, John Taylor, and them dudes, man. You know, I love Joe Montana, the way he threw the ball to Rice. And obviously Rice is one of the best to ever do it. But, you know, just looking back, you know, most of the teams was 2 yards in a cloud of dust. And it seemed like the West Coast team, San Fran and those kind of teams, they threw the ball around a yard. So I would love to play with guys like that. You know what I mean? It's just a different time, though, to answer your other question. I don't really miss it, man. You know, and I don't. If I played in this area, it would probably be a little different thing. But, you know, I enjoyed it when I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? To catch 6 or 7 balls in a game was like a great game when I played. Now, you know, these youngers doing that in one drive. Like, you can catch 5 or 6 balls in one drive. So it's just a different time. You know what I mean? Regardless of the area you come up in, it's hard to make it and it's hard to be successful. So, I just focus on the grind and the productivity that I had, man, and the things that I did when I got the opportunity. You know what I mean? So I don't kind of, you know. And the money thing, when we was playing, them youngins like Daryl Green and Art Monk and those cats were like, man, y'all making a lot more money than me. So every era say that. You feel me? Like, so it all depends on the era. But these guys now, like you said, are making a bag of money. Guaranteed. You know, they don't practice. They can't get hit. You know, I mean, you know, in my day, you know, getting knocked out was a part of football. So, yeah, man, it's a different time. But I enjoyed the time that I played, man. It's good to watch a game and see the ball being thrown around a yard 30, 40, 50 times, man. You know, it's a beautiful thing.
Hey, OG, I think you're being a little nice to the young cats, man. You couldn't go across the middle. You couldn't. It was a no-fly zone.
It's a different time. I understand why they changed the game, you know, for the health and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, you had to earn your keep. You know, my motto was, you know, you're going to get hit anyway, so you might as well go get it. So that's just how I approached it, man. I just went across the middle. And trust me, it wasn't nothing I enjoyed doing. I just kind of got labeled for that because you had to do what you had to do when you was a slot receiver in my era. You know what I mean? You had to take a shot. And safeties knock you out. Those are the kind of safeties they wanted on teams then. You know what I mean? To put their helmet under your chin and knock you out. So, hey, you got to do what you got to do. Don't let your babies grow up to be receivers.
Salute, OG, salute.
For sure, man.
Hey, OG, question. Can you tell the viewers and listeners your experience playing for the Washington Redskins at that time from 94 to 98?
Oh man, it was a dream come true. You know, just to be in the NFL anyway was a dream come true, man. And to play for a team that I grew up watching the success of Art Monk and Gary Clark and Ricky Sanders and the Fun Bunch. I mean, you got to remember in the 80s when I went to high school, that was some of the successful years in the Redskins history. So they won in 87, they won in, I think, in 89, and then 2000, I think 91. So, you know, between my high school and my college years, they think they won 2 or 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. So I was a Cowboy fan at the time. I'm just going to say that because I grew up wanting to be a running back, and Tony D was my guy. So, you know, that's kind of why I kind of like love Cowboys. But once you suit up in that burgundy and gold and you played on Bammers, you don't never want to be, you know, you're never going to be a Cowboy fan again. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you know, I can't stand them dudes, man. You know what I mean? I get it. You know, I know how the DMV go. But at the end of the day, man, you know, that's the story.
Who was your OGs? Like, you know, that took you under their wing?
Oh, Henry Ellett. Definitely Henry Ellett, man, was one of the best route runners, man, one of the most level-headed dudes. He told me at a young age, when I was young, you know, that I was going to be a successful dude in this league. He saw my work ethic. He saw my talent and my skill set. And he saw that I had a lot of heart. You know what I mean? He knew that that's what it take to be a receiver in the league. When you try to be an NFL wide receiver as a free agent, man, that's like the hardest road. And people don't understand that because you in camp early. You know, you there March and you got to be running and all that before the veterans get there. And then once the veterans get there, and then, you know, your reps get cut, right? And we talking, this is when we had 2 and 3 day practices and things of that nature. So to go through that grind as a free agent and then become, you know, a third-time receiver, and then become eventually a starter and lead the team in yardage and receptions and touchdowns and things of that nature. It's just a dream coming true, man. It's just indescribable, honestly.
That's what's up.
Well, Cuzzo, a lot of people don't know this. That year that you killed and went crazy, I felt like the Washington Redskins didn't do you justice by bringing you back and giving you the contract you deserve.
Right.
So people ask me, Omar, why are you not a Washington Redskin fan? You know, because, you know, we didn't have any choice with our uncles, you know, making us, and our parents, because they were so diehard.
Right.
But I that is the reason why I cut ties with them, because they did not treat you the right way. With that being said, what made you decide to go to, I think it was Miami first, correct?
No, it was Cleveland. I went to
Cleveland first. What made you decide to pick Cleveland? Besides the money part, what made you decide? Because at the time, they was just coming and being back in the NFL in a new franchise, correct?
Right.
So what made you decide to do that? As well as, my second question is, who was one of the top, if you had to get top 3 defensive backs that you went up against when you was playing?
Okay. The first part of that question, you know, I felt some kind of way when they didn't sign me back.
I did too, brother. I did too.
At the end of the day, you know, they drafted Michael Westbrook first round.
Of course.
I was kind of posing a threat on him. You know, he was Noah's pick. He was the GM's pick. And I was kind of turning into the number 1 guy. You know, they tried to replace me with Alvin Harper. He came in. I ended up beating him out. You know, they tried to bring in, I forget, Billy
Albert
Brooks.
Connor, AC. Albert Connor was the young boy that they drafted.
Billy Brooks. They had Billy Brooks, Titus Winan. So they had a lot of guys that they wanted to try to replace me with. But I just, you know, kept my head down and kept doing the work. And at the end of the day, you know, that's what's going to, you know, get you to where you need to go. So the reason why I left is because they didn't offer me a contract at all. You know, they never called me. The GM never called my agent. Norm never called me. Charlie Cassidy never called me. Nick. So it got to the point where we was just stagnant. So I either have to, you know, work, feed my family, or retire. So, you know, they could have called me and said, look, we're going to go in another direction, but they didn't do none of that. But all that tells me is that they knew, you know, what they had in me, and they just didn't want to face the fire. Yes, and sir. I went to Cleveland for one reason. They had the money. Right.
Yeah.
I went to Philly. I visited Philly. I visited Miami. I was in talks with Cowboys. Cowboys decided to go with Rocket Ismail. When I went to Philly, they just wasn't offering enough money for the time they wanted me to sign me for. So I went to Cleveland because they was offering me the most money, and it was only a 1-year deal. Nice. So I was like, listen, I'm gonna go ahead and prove myself. And the reason I didn't want to go to Cleveland, I went to visit them, and when I got into the locker room, I started seeing a collective of so many veterans, Terry Kirby's and Corey Fuller's, and you know, I seen, you know, so many different players. I was like, wait a minute, man, maybe we can be something if, you know, we got a year. But again, this is the inaugural season. It just didn't work out. And again, you talk about Gus Farad. I had Tim Couch. They drafted Tim Couch. He might be, and this is a true story. He is labeled as one of the worst draft choices in NFL history now. Not just an era, like in the history of the league. So think about that. So, crazy thing is, once I left Washington to go to Cleveland, they went to sign Brad Johnson, and they went to the playoffs. So at the end of the day, I just didn't have no luck with that, man.
Yes, sir.
I left Cleveland, went to Miami, and that was the year after Marino retired. So I was like, damn, I can't win it. So
Wow.
I had Gus Farad, I had Jay Fiedler in Miami, right? And then I had Tim Couch. And I did have Ty Detmer that was in Cleveland with me initially, but they benched him after the first series. So that, he was my guy. He was feeding me all preseason, but it just didn't work out there, man. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Can't stand Cleveland. Racist places. Oh man, Ohio, racist as hell. Trust me, I can't wait to get out of there.
Gotcha.
I got that bag.
Who's those top defensive backs you've been went against though? Like who's some of the top DBs you went against in your career?
That's a good question, man. That's a good question. I'm gonna have to say my top three would be Aeneas Williams, guy I played against a lot in Arizona. Me and him had a lot of battles, man, on Sundays, man. Then I would have to probably say Rod Woodson. And I would say Rod Woodson.
I love him.
Just because of his size. And people don't understand, Rod he could run just like I could. He could run a 4.3, 4.2. But he was 6'1", 215, 220 pounds. So it was like running with a linebacker. So I would have to say those two. And my third choice, oh man, that's a tough one, man. I don't know, man. It's a lot. Dale Carter was one of the best.
Dale Carter.
There you go.
Man.
That's my boy.
I mean,
Dale Carter.
Dude,
Yeah.
man,
Yes.
he was a problem, right? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Chris Dishman also was another good corner that I respected and
Nice.
gave me a lot of problems. Now you got to remind you. Now I'm not saying Darrell Green because me and Darrell went against each other every day in practice.
Right.
So a lot of people don't understand Darrell Green ain't a technique guy. He's just a Sundays guy, right? So he very rarely practice. He ain't gonna go full speed. So I never really get to go up against him in a game setting. So that's why I can't really put him in that category. But clearly, he one of the best to ever do it. One of my teammates. So I guess that would have to be my list, man. Dale Carter, Rod Woodson, Aeneas
That's a
Williams.
great list. That's a great list.
Chris
Awesome.
Dishman. Yeah, man. Old school cats.
OG, hold on. Where's prime time at?
Everybody knows
Okay.
Brown.
I knew it.
Okay.
Hey, what prime at?
Okay.
I knew it.
Okay. Well, hold on.
Everybody
So let me just say this.
I
I've been up against Prime several times when he was the Cowboys in Atlanta. But let me be honest with you. I wasn't the number one receiver. So Prime would probably be on the number one guy, right?
Mhm.
Now, my skill set was number one, right?
Gotcha.
But he wouldn't line up on me now. When he was in Atlanta, he stayed on one side. But what people don't felt Deion was an off corner. So he ain't no Lester Hayes guy. He'll get off and he'll read the quarterback. So if it's a run play, he ain't moving. Right. So everything you see Prime do is highlights. So if you do anything with Deion Sanders highlights, it's all gonna be like this highlight plays, like an interception in a big game, something like that. But you ain't gonna see no consistent stuff about him making plays. Deion didn't do much. He sat back. His job was to cover the best receiver. That's what he got paid to do, and that's how he approached it. It wasn't a tackle. It wasn't, none of that. It wasn't a run over here just in case they might throw it to you. Nah, he didn't do none of that stuff.
Even Mo had to agree with that.
He was a diva for real. Trust me, man.
I wanted to hear it. I wanted to hear it.
Hey,
I wanted to hear it.
Now he could run like you wouldn't want to run by him. So and I can run with the best of them, but you weren't gonna run by him. And, you know what I mean? He had a different gear. But I won't put him on my top list of guys I went up against.
Respect that, OG. I respect that. I wanted to hear it though. I gotta hear it.
Yeah. Not to knock him though. He was a dog, but you know what I'm saying? He wasn't the best to ever do it. I give him that for sure.
Nice.
Now, a lot of fans believe that, as far as the Redskins or the Commanders at this point, getting rid of Dan Snyder was the trick.
Okay.
And now they're going to live their best lives.
Right.
I am a Cowboys fan. I do need to say that.
All Cowboys fans got to say they Cowboys
I just want to let the record show, through thick and thin, just like what the Commanders fans should say. But so many of my Commanders friends are like, I hate them. And then they jump back on the band. I'm not that. Right, so my point is, do you believe that getting rid of Dan Snyder is the trick that's going to turn this program around, or are they still going to need to put some pieces here and there to ensure that they are successful, at least for this first year?
Well, I mean, from a humanity standpoint, yeah, because this man was violating women. He was doing all kinds of things that black men would be in prison for, right? You know what I mean? Deshaun Watson, I mean, they fined him. I don't know how much money they fined Deshaun Watson, but I think they was all in the same parlor. So at the end of the day, getting rid of him was good for the organization as a whole, but it's not going to have anything to do with wins and losses. You know, that's a personnel thing. They got rid of Dan Snyder. They should have got rid of him. They got rid of Scott Turner. They should have got rid of him, but they still got Ron Rivera. So you're only as good as your leadership, and he's awful.
Wow,
so,
terrible.
I have never heard somebody say awful though.
No, he's awful.
Wow.
And I concur. I concur.
When you're talking about the responsibility of a head coach to manage, to understand time, situations, and personnels and things of that nature, it's awful. He's a nice guy. You know, he overcame cancer and all that. Kudos to that. But we talking about somebody that's going to lead us. In my personal opinion, they should have just made Bieniemy the head coach. I mean, what else do the brother have to do to build his resume to be a coach? But to answer your question, you know, it might help from the fans' perspective. You know what I mean? But if we don't win games, they don't win games, then they're not gonna fill the stands up. You know what I mean? Magic Johnson not gonna come through no look. You know what I mean? No hook shots or no look away passes. That don't have anything to do with football. You know what I'm saying? He's a PR guy. It's good for the morale of the team. I'm happy for the brother. But he a figurehead. Let's just be honest.
No, I appreciate that honesty, because people need to hear that, because that's what it is. You know, we glad that he's out, or that, you know, but will that build a team? No.
Nah, we got to show up the offensive line. We got a quarterback that ain't got no experience. You know what I mean? So Bieniemy didn't bring Patrick Mahomes. Bieniemy didn't bring Travis Kelce. You know what I mean? Bieniemy didn't bring Pacheco. He didn't bring none of those guys with him.
But can you imagine if he did bring Travis Kelce?
Hill is in Miami, so he ain't bring none of those guys with him. So to be honest with you, he's not going to build his resume no more than he's already built his resume.
Yeah,
I think he's trying to get out the shadow of Andy Reid, which is unfortunate when you're a black man as a coach. If you're a white guy, right? Let's just look at it from this perspective. He was in the Super Bowl, right? He beat both the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, and those guys had jobs the next day.
Right.
Like, this man was the winning coach, right? The quarterback's the MVP, and not only is this his first Super Bowl, it's his second Super Bowl, and this man can't get a job. So now he got to leave a place like Kansas City to come here. I don't care what he say. He didn't want to do that. He can stand there and say, man, why not Washington and why not? I'm happy here. Be honest with you. I'm happy to see him here. I couldn't stand Scott Turner. You know what I mean? Maybe it's because I ain't like his father, but he couldn't call plays neither. So I just think that it's unfortunate for the brother that he couldn't just get a head coaching job somewhere because the resume is flawless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
I want to rewind it back a little bit, cuz.
Okay, let's go.
We all know you was a superstar wide receiver at Temple University, but what was your recruiting like? What made you decide to go to Temple, and what was your recruiting process like?
Oh, man, the recruiting process was crazy. So high school, I was 87, 88. I was Parade Magazine All-American. I had scholarships for Tennessee, the U, South Carolina, Notre Dame. I mean, you name it, I had it, right? And we talking first team All-American in Prince George's County back in 87, 88. That was unheard of. Right, you know what I mean? Now we got PG County repping all in the NBA, NFL, all over the professional sports. But in my day, it just wasn't the case. So I took my visits. I went to Miami. I don't know if y'all know my story, but I did sign with Miami in the 80s. In 88, Jimmy Johnson came to my school and offered me, and that was the team I signed with. During that process, I was in high school. One of my partners, my closest friends, was killed by the police. A dude named Rico Marshall. I don't know if y'all guys remember Rico Marshall, but Rico Marshall was a prominent athlete.
Monster. It's
all
okay to say it.
Yeah,
he was
took
a
all
monster.
the business and stuff. I mean, he was legit. So I kind of went off the rails a little bit. Left school. It just devastated me. So because of that, you know, I missed SAT tests and I didn't get all my academic stuff in order. And, you know, Jimmy Johnson called me and was like, listen, we're going to send you to a prep school, right, for a year, get yourself together. You don't have to worry about the SAT. You can do what you got to do in school, and, you know, you can just transfer in the spring semester. So I was like, okay, no problem. I was like, where is it at? And he said, Arkansas. I was like, Arkansas. So at that point, me, a youngin from the DMV, I wasn't going to Arkansas. Right. So I was like, listen, can we work out something else? And, you know, it went back and forth, and they kind of held my scholarships to the last minute and then released me from it because they didn't want me to go to another team, you know. So once they finally released me from my scholarship, I was going to go to either Ohio State, Maryland, or back to Tennessee, because Tennessee really wanted me. That was my first choice, but I couldn't turn down Miami once I went down there and saw what they was doing for those dudes. You know what I mean? They was just, you know, the biggest thing in Florida at the time, bigger than Dolphins. So I couldn't turn that down. But after I discussed it with my high school coach, at the time, the head coach of the Temple football program was Bruce Arians. And Bruce Arians is the guy who went to Pittsburgh and then Arizona. He had Byron Leftwich, another guy that should have had a head coaching job. But I diverse on that, you know what I mean? That's a whole nother topic. But they told my high school coach, Bruce Arians, if you get Shep to come to Temple, because I already had 2 dudes from my school there, right? If you get Shep to come to Temple, we're going to work out something to get you on our staff next year. So when he told me that, I felt like, you know what, let's do it. I didn't even know anything about Temple, didn't even visit Temple. Only thing down there that I know, they had a Heisman Trophy candidate, you know, Paul Palmer. He was from this area. Yeah, Paul Palmer was from this area. I think Chevy Chase or something like that. But that's the only thing I knew about Temple. So to make a long story short, I went down there first year, wasn't on scholarship. They paid for me to go to school, but they fired Bruce Arians, right? So at this point, right, think about this. I'm All-American, high school All-American 88. I signed with the U. They had a Street and Smith magazine back in the day that they used to rank all the Division I programs, and Miami was number 1. And this is a true story. Temple was the worst team. So I went from the best team to the worst team, right? Anyway, you know, that's just how my story went, but I obviously made the most of it, man.
Right.
But it's crazy when people ask me that. A lot of people still think I went to Miami, and I didn't. I just ended up playing for the Dolphins at the end of my career, so my life kind of went full circle. And I ended up playing with a lot of those guys that was at the U anyway, and was like, man, we glad you ain't come, because you was All-American. You was going to take a spot down here. And, you know, and that's just crazy when I see, you know, the 30 for 30 and all that kind of stuff, man. And I look back on it. Now, I wouldn't change my journey and my path for nothing, because it made me who I am today, right? But when I look back on it, I'd be like, man, my life would be a lot if I had went to the U, you know what I mean?
Did we lose him? He coming back. We get him back.
Yeah, so, you know what I mean? And a lot of people didn't know I had a scholarship to play basketball at Virginia as well.
Wow.
UVA, yeah, Terry Hollins, you know, offered me a scholarship.
Wow.
Day, man. So, but basketball wasn't something I wanted to do. I enjoyed it, but I knew football was, you know, was my niche. Yeah, man. So I kind of went on the roller coaster my senior year, man. It was crazy. I went through some issues, and we ain't had no transfer portal, so I couldn't jump in no portal and leave Temple or nothing like that. But I made the most of it, man. I made it to the league without getting invited to any combines, no bowl games, nothing like that. You know what I mean? Me and my staff, we didn't get along that well. My college career was awful, man. It was, you know, other than the relationships I built with my friends and the alumni, the people that I went to school with, I really don't even like the Temple. That whole experience was just bad for me. You know what I mean? But again, I sucked it up because my mom wasn't having it. She was like, "You gonna ride it out?" You know what I mean? You know, this ain't like these kids today. My mom, she was my mom. You know what I mean? She was my mom first, then my friend.
Right.
Opposite way. You know what I mean? So she gonna tell me what I need to hear, and if I'm mad, so be it. You feel me? So
how you feel about the transfer portal? I go back and forth. The fellas always, you know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. As an educator on my 9 to 5, I see so many of my kids go, you know, change schools, and then they get into college, and then they change colleges, and it's like it's okay to do that. And I'm like, what happened to A, loyalty. I do understand the fact that you want to play. That's why
Right.
you go.
Right.
You want to go where you're wanted, where you're going to get the time. But
Right.
just trying to build like you went to Temple, you didn't have the best experience, but you played. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
If you had gone to Miami, they may have gotten somebody else that was
Right.
equally as talented as you, and
Right.
you may not have gotten the time.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts on the transfer portal, positive or negative?
Well, I think it's positive, right? And I think it's positive from a perspective that you give the kids an option to leave, right? At first, they used to get penalized for leaving. You had to sit out. But, a coach can come to your living room and sit down and talk to your parents and say, listen, I'm going to treat this young man like he's my child. I'm going to be with him for 4 years. And in 2 years, he gone to another school for
Right.
twice as much money, and he get to coach. Now, this kid is sitting here with somebody that don't even know if he's going to be his guy or not, and they bring these other guys out. So I think that's a real critical time for young men's lives. So I think they should have the option, right? But if you look on the flip side of that, I think this generation as a whole just isn't as competitive as we was. You know what I mean? They just don't like to compete. When they face with adversity, they want to jump ship and they want to go other places. Now, it's nothing wrong with having options, but you still got to have a backbone, and you still going to have to compete, right? So if you go from one school to another school, then from another school to another school, you know what I mean? So you kind of seen it a little bit in basketball, more than football initially, with the reclassifying and switching this school. And I mean, it's insanity with basketball.
Yeah.
But with football, it's kind of starting to be the same thing. You know what I mean? You look at the bowl games and stuff like that, guys is projected to go like 5th round is not playing in the bowl game. In my day, if you wasn't the first pick, your ass was playing. You know what I mean? So how do you play football for 4 years and, you get to the end of your career and you don't want to play in that last game? That's just crazy to me. I remember my last game in college, and it tore me apart because I was like, damn, I ain't going to never do this no more. You know what I mean? At least on the college level. And I didn't know if, the NFL was going to happen because obviously I had the skill set and I believe in myself. But it's no guarantee that, it's a lot of dudes that I grew up with the barbershop that could have played in the league. It just wasn't their calling. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's good for an option, but it can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So, cuz let me ask you something, because with the NFL season on horizon, there's a lot of young men that's in the same position that you were back in the day, where they may have not been drafted as high as they expected to, or maybe was undrafted. What advice can you give them in terms of the mindset that you have to have going into a camp undrafted and improving your worth and ultimately being successful in the National Football League?
Well, you got to have a few things. First and foremost, you got to have that dog in you, right? You got to be able to focus on what you can control, right? And not the things that you can't control, right? You can't control how many, reps you get. You can't count your reps. You got to make them reps count, regardless of if it's 12 or if it's 2, right? You got to focus on, getting better, right? Hold yourself to a higher standard than anybody else in the locker room or in that coaching staff can, right? So if the coach is busting your balls about something, you should already be in your mind that, okay, I was thinking the same thing, right? It shouldn't be no back and forth, right? And again, it's about luck. It's about how you believe and the opportunity you get when you get that opportunity to play. So a lot of times these kids don't get the opportunity to play as much as I did. They cut the preseason down now. You know what I mean? They already kind of got, settled in their mind who they're going to pick and all that kind of stuff. So you just got to go out there and focus on the things that you can control, man. Not worrying about, who's in front of you or why they drafted sorry white boy or this sorry, you know what I mean? You can't get caught up in that kind of stuff, man. You got to just go out and play and make the most of the opportunity when you get them. Because even in my day, regardless of how much you play, you on film, right? And, one man's trash is the next man's treasure. So somebody might look at you and say, he ain't nothing what we need. Somebody else and say, man, he's exactly what we need. So, you just got to go out there and try to put something on film, man, and go out and compete. You know what I mean? Great self-confidence and high-pressure situation, because you're going to be in a lot of high-pressure situations in the NFL. You got to come through.
Okay. That's a great answer right there. So I got a question for you with the football season on the horizon.
Okay.
Who do you think is your top 5 teams right now? We're going to disqualify the Commanders until they get a quarterback. So just go ahead and keep them out, OG. I know you love them.
Okay.
Who else we got?
Cowboys ain't gonna be in there neither.
I knew he was gonna
I
say
don't know
that.
why you ain't just add them in there.
Fact.
Great clap back. Great clap back.
Them
We
Browns-
can't never have nothing, Mo. We can't never have
So
nothing.
we gonna start with, I think the Niners. I think they got the total package, right? I think they got weapons all over the place. I hate to say it, but you got to put the Eagles up there. Regardless, they the class of our division right now, and they just keep getting better. They got a young boy quarterback that's a problem. A franchise guy, something that we need to work on. Then I would probably have to say Kansas City because they still got Patrick. I mean, like, as long as they got that Bama back there throwing the ball around, it don't matter who coaching him, man. He's a different type of dude, generational type talent. I'm gonna say, they've been close, but they haven't got over the hump. I'm gonna say Buffalo. Too, just because,
Buffalo.
Man, sit down, old dog. Sit down for a second, bro.
And then, after that, man, it's tough, man, because it's a lot of teams out there that's right. You can say Kansas City. I mean, you can say Cincinnati, right?
Okay.
You said Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
Don't appease that dude, man. Don't appease him.
There you go. There you go, cuz.
You can also go down the road and talk about the Ravens as well.
Now you talking about language.
It's a lot of teams, man, that I think got an opportunity, and and it's a lot of parity in the league right now. You know what I mean? Listen, 3 teams from the NFC East made the playoffs. You know what I mean? So, y'all told me not to say nothing about the Commanders, but shit, right now they at the bottom. So, they got to work their way up. If I had to label our division, they ain't better than the Eagles, they ain't better than the Giants, they ain't better than the Cowboys right now until they beat them, right? And that's just facts. Do we got just as much as talent or more? Absolutely. Right. But it's you can't win games with paper. You know what I'm saying? You got to go out and execute. You got to be productive. You got to learn how to utilize the talent you got. And I think that with the coach we got now, I think he can do that a little better and help the defense out, because the defense played well enough, in my opinion, last year for us to be a playoff caliber team. We just were stagnant as an offensive unit. So, those are my top teams. You know what I mean? Cincy, they right there, Slim. You know what I mean? They right there. You know what I mean?
I'm happy with Cincinnati.
Well, I will say this about Cincinnati: in a couple years, maybe a year and a half, y'all gonna have a problem because y'all gonna have a lot of young dudes that they gonna want to get that bag, and y'all gonna keep Burrow and y'all gonna keep Chase, but Higgins and do a slot receiver. I don't know.
He need to go. Higgins can stay, but Floyd, he need to go anyway. He dropped that pass last year in the fourth quarter. He can go.
Right.
He can go. He can get on out of here. Yeah. With that being said, quick question for you. With the Washington team or whatever the case may be, if you looking at an organization, how messed up was it when you see a guy like you said 49ers and what they doing out there? We had him in-house, right? We had him in-house as well as Sean McVay, right?
Right.
Yes.
To see to take us sort of with you being a player in the National Football League and working with those guys, right? Take us in the locker room a little bit when you see a guy like that leave and go to another organization and have some success as well as change the game, man. What they doing out with the 49ers, man, putting guys like Trent Williams in the backfield, having him lead the operation, then come back and go trips wide and ISO, and take me a little bit about, like, how would you have loved to not only play for a guy like that, but to maybe say, well, he going to San Francisco, that's where I'm going.
Well, first of all, personally, I don't like the Shanahans, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Keep it real.
But I, McVay, I think he innovative. He one of the best play callers in the league.
Okay.
But a lot of that had a lot to do with the RG3 and Dan Snyder situation. All that was all front office BS. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So this is the reason. This is the reason why the Commanders, as a whole, didn't really clean house. You know what I mean? Ron Rivera come out and he gonna say who the quarterback is and all that kind of stuff. Everything is political now. You know what I mean? But it's hard to watch some of the coaches that we had through this coaching carousel go other places and have success. I mean, you can look at the Wizards, that they do the same thing. The players they have
straight up.
So I don't know if it's just the Commanders. I think it's the DMV. Period.
Well, yeah, it's hard to
baseball.
athlete here in Washington.
Come on, man. Everybody we let go somewhere and have success, players and coaches. So that's something that we just yearning for in this area, man.
Do you
but
think that's ego though on the management, where they have to hold? It's like their hands are tied for these young guys that have ideas, and they just keep tamping them down. Okay, your day is coming, and then they were just like, I got another opportunity, I'm out.
Well, I mean, it was egos. It was billionaires that was fans when they was young and don't have nothing else to do with their money, and they don't care about winning. It's a business.
Yeah,
right? They trying to turn a profit and not win Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So Jack King Cook was a different kind of animal. He wanted to win championships. Like him or hate him, that was his mentality. And you see some of the owners like that, Daniel Snyder wouldn't dare give an interview. Look at this Bama out in Texas that think he is the general manager and he doing everything.
Y'all familiar with him?
Oh, y'all know what I'm talking about, right?
Shut up.
So,
you talking about the owner that got some playoff wins this century?
Right.
This century, 96?
Right. To step aside and let somebody else.
No, for real, fellas. I was sitting there thinking, who is he talking about?
It's ego. Sometimes it's ego. Sometimes it's to be involved. And I get it. If you're a billionaire, if you signing the checks, you want to make some decisions. I get that. But we just had the wrong owner. And trust me, they're gonna clean house. The GM, all them guys gonna be gone. They just, from a standpoint of the sell of the team, they kind of put that on the back burner because they wanted to make sure that Daniel Snyder wasn't going to be dry snitching on other owners and the commissioner and things like that. Because just keep it 100. You know what I'm saying? The commissioner worked for the owners, not the players.
Of course.
Right? So he ain't for us, right? So they knew what Daniel Snyder was doing. Once it became a public thing, then they try to get in front of it. You know what I mean? Everything that happens in the NFL, they know. Trust me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So once they got rid of all that, I just think, we got an owner in here now that wants to win, right? He understands who to put around him, put the people in the right places. He say the right things. He's not going to try to be too much in the forefront, but he understands what it takes to win. The only thing that scares me about the situation is that he is a fan as well, too, right? So to say you own the Washington Redskins and you grew up as a child watching them, I mean, come on, man. That's like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Is that about success or bragging rights? You know what I mean? To get the golden chair at the country club, or what's that about? You know what I mean? You want to really get some W. So we'll see how the next couple of years go. It's not about building a stadium and making the hot dogs cheaper and all that shit. It's about W's. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get no W's, it's gonna be the same old thing. Trust me, they love them now. They'll be throwing Magic under the bus. I'm telling you. You know what I mean? And we know. Believe you me. Yeah. So, trust me. They build you up. Trust me. They build you up for a reason because they trying to tear you down. That's for sure.
OG, let me ask you a couple of questions very quick.
Okay.
And this going back to what you said earlier, your experience playing for North Turner. And then I got another question to follow up behind that.
Okay. You said my experience with playing with
exactly. Yeah, because you said you wasn't feeling North Turner when he was your coach for the 98.
He was a great innovative when it comes to plays. He just wasn't a good head coach, right? So he's the kind of guy that if you happen to be in a hotel and y'all just got finished breakfast or dinner and you happen to be in the elevator with him, he wouldn't say nothing, right? He would literally
like those people.
Yeah, he would literally be.
Oh, he corporate.
Yeah, he would literally be uncomfortable. And then when he did speak, it was kind of like just out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he was uncomfortable in that environment. All he was really good at is being in the lab and calling plays. I just didn't like him because he was the kind of coach, he didn't compensate the players for their hard work and effort, right? He was the kind of guy that he tried to, force feed players. You know what I mean? Put players in position to be successful even when they didn't deserve it. And I think his son got that same kind of characteristic. He don't like to deviate from his plan, and he don't really want to take too much feedback from his players and things of that nature. He had success in Dallas, but come on, he had Troy and Emmett and Irvin. I mean, and Novacek and all these guys. Come on, man.
That offensive line,
he had that
right.
defense.
Sure did.
You know what I mean? All them dudes in the Hall of Fame. I think 13, 14 of them dudes. So, I mean, we give him a lot of credit for that, obviously, because Troy Aikman, one of the best to ever do it, solidified him when he had him do the Hall of Fame speech. So a lot of people put him on the pedestal for that. But again, he didn't have no success. He didn't win nowhere as head coach. Think about that, right? He had a lot of jobs, but he didn't win nowhere as a head coach. All the success came when he was a coordinator. So that was my thing. He just wasn't a good head coach. He just didn't know how to mediate and talk to players and use the talent that he had. He was threatened by people's talent. it was crazy, man. But at the end of the day, that was my profession. That was my, thing I had to do to feed my family. So I had to bite the bullet a little bit, man. But trust me, man, he don't want to see me at no
in a reunion.
No reunion, dinner, banquet, nah, he don't want to see that. He'll turn and go the other way for sure. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah.
So look here. I listen to this on-air sports radio talent every day, right?
Okay.
And I think could be one of your best friends, or if not your best friend.
Okay.
And that's Brian Mitchell.
Okay.
Can you explain to us why he's not in the Hall of Fame?
Well, you gotta be twice as good to get half the credit when you're a black man. Sometimes, I just think that his time will come. His numbers don't lie. You know what I mean? His longevity don't lie. How he played the game with his intensity, his productivity, the many years he put in. He's a bona fide playmaker. Period. You know what I mean? Quarterback, running back, receiver, kick return, punt return. He could do it all, man. I mean, he didn't get hurt, right?
Nope.
Durability is, and we talking the years he played, late 80s, 90s. You know what I mean? So he put in some time, man. And trust me, I'm an advocate of him getting in the Hall of Fame. He's on the second all-time, all-purpose list. Only person's in front of him. Come on, man. It's Jerry Rice.
Exactly.
Are we kidding? So at the end of the day, a lot of times we get recognized when we gone. So hopefully it don't take that, you know what I mean? But I mean, come on, look at somebody like Drew Pearson. He just got in, right?
Yeah, true.
He had to cry his way. He had to cry and beg his way in there, though.
Was he not a Hall of Famer? Come on, man.
Right.
If Lynn Swann and Starworth were Hall of Fame, he was a Hall of Fame, right? But again, like you get these slow linemen, these white dudes, man. You watch their highlights, you're like, how is this dude a Hall of Fame, right? It's a bunch of old white men in these ballrooms making these decisions, right? They say the media get a vote and everybody get a vote, right. But we know at the end of the day, you know what I mean? If they can fix an election, they can fix a Hall of Fame.
There it is. That part right there.
But he deserved to be in, man, to answer your question. 100%. Absolutely Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Because I just got one more question for you, and then Fredo gonna get into his rapid fire questions.
Okay, no problem.
But me being I transitioned over from the Washington franchise up the Beltway to Baltimore.
Right.
What's your thoughts on Lamar Jackson? And if you were still playing right now, would you want to play with him?
Absolutely. First of all, I'm a huge Lamar Jackson fan, just for the way he transcended the sports. He kind of remind me. He's like the Allen Iverson of football.
Wow.
I think the MVP year that he had. He changed the whole. Everybody started wearing their hair like him. You remember? I mean, the whole hair braids. Everybody had the braids, and so he transcended the sport, in my opinion, man. The things that he did, having his mom raise him, a single parent. I'm just a huge fan of this brother. But I also am so grateful that they got rid of the coordinator that they had, because he was underutilizing Lamar's talent. He was using him like he was not a drop pack or pocket passing quarterback. You know what I mean? He was beating him up. Now, triple option is a problem, but that shouldn't be 95% of your offense, right? I mean, if it was going to work in the NFL, it would have worked now, right? Just be honest with it. Everybody done tried it. It's just not going to work. He's going to get beat up. He's not going to last. The goal is to have him playing in late January, right? When the playoffs and when he counts. So I think they surrounded him with the right players, right? The running back. The defense are always legit. You know what I mean? The coach is solid. You mean you love him or hate him. He's a winner, period. Bottom line. Harbaugh gets it done. They go out and play for him. So I think this year, man, this could be a year for them, long as he stay healthy, because he got the talent around him. I just think the offense was just so stagnant, and he got into the playoffs. And after, people forget when you get to the playoff setting, people watch what you do double time. Right. So the tendencies that you have during the season, you have 3 or 4 days to prepare for that. In the playoffs, now everybody's focusing on all your tendencies, all the, when you pull, when you don't pull, what makes you pull, what not makes you pull. You know what I mean? How deep you going to be in the mesh. That's why a lot of times he gets into the playoffs and a lot of people beat him up and say, he's not good in the playoffs. He can't be productive. He throw interceptions. That's because I think he pressed a lot when he get to the playoffs, because he feel like he got to do it all himself. And if it was more of a team setting for him on offense, then I think that he won't be one of those players, man, that'll be the reason why they lose.
That part right there. That part right there.
Yeah.
Okay, OG, we about to do a quick rapid fire, right? Probably for
Okay.
45 seconds to a minute, okay?
Let's do it.
All right. Person you would trade places with for one day.
Person I would trade places with for one day. Man, that's a good question, man. Shit. I don't know. I kind of love myself and shit. I don't know. Oh, man. I don't know, man.
I love myself.
Oh man. So is it got to be a current person?
Anybody.
Anybody? I don't know, man. That's a tough question. I've never been asked that question before. Change places with somebody.
Oh.
Shit. That's a tough question.
Rapid
Man.
fire,
Myself,
man. Come on, man.
I love myself, man. I mean, okay. I tell you what. If I for a day, maybe to just be Earl Spence because he get ready.
Okay.
He get ready to rumble.
I ain't mad at that.
Wait, yo, when is the fight? When is the fight?
Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, this fight's is Saturday. Okay, so second question. Something you wish you were better at.
Something I wish I was better at. Patience.
Okay. Worst piece of advice you ever got.
Worst piece of advice I ever got. Oh man, I got some bad advice. I got a lot of bad advice, man. Oh man. Dude. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you.
That part right there. Okay, look here. You got to start one. Well, being as though you from the DMV,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? I know you love go-go just as well, you know.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
Okay.
I'm
So you got
head.
start,
I'm definitely a go head. For sure.
yeah, it is. So you got to start one, bench one, or cut one. Rare Essence, Junkyard, or Chuck.
Oh.
So who are you starting?
I'm starting the Godfather.
There it is. And who are you benching?
Yeah. I'm benching Jump.
There it is. That part right there.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm benching Jump.
All right. So we already talked about what favorite NFL team of all time.
My favorite NFL team of all time. Shit, that's a good. I'm gonna have to say the Niners, the 49ers.
Okay. Least favorite team of all time.
Cowboys.
Nah.
There it is. That part right
You
there.
said you used to like the Cowboys.
Favorite
We said
NFL player of all
Now I
time.
don't, though. So we talking about the all time. I don't know. She like that's that bullshit right there. That's that bullshit right there.
Favorite
Yeah,
NFL player of all
because
time.
Cowboy fan. You know what I mean?
What was
I
the
didn't hear that
question?
You asked
It's
me
okay.
a question.
Favorite NFL player of all time.
My favorite NFL player of all time. Man, it's got to be Tony Dorsett.
Okay, we are. All right. NFL team that has the most overrated fan base.
The Jets.
Yeah, that's true.
All that.
Yes,
You know, I play for the Dolphins, so you know I hate them Jets too. I play for the Dolphins. All that fireman, all that. That's terrible. That was terrible right there.
There ain't one nothing since Joe Namath, so you're right.
Right. Exactly.
They
man.
got them with DB now though.
Right. Yeah, Sauce Gardner.
Yeah,
He about that life.
Yeah. He
He
next.
is about that
You
life.
don't like
man.
what you like the receiver?
Gary
I
Wilson.
like that young team. They running back too. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't like that diva. They got a quarterback, but you know we'll see what happens.
I know I liked you, OG. I know I liked you.
Me and you both.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, he a diva, man.
All right. Cobra.
Yeah, look, I just want to thank Cuzzo for being on the show. It was definitely an honor and a privilege. And I'm not saying this because he's my cousin, but he's one of my favorite, if not the favorite athletes, not just a specific sport, but favorite athletes of all time. And y'all can look that up. Leslie know in 97, we had media day at University of Dayton. They was going around and asking us a series of questions, and one of the questions was, who is our favorite professional athlete? And, you know, people, Jordan, Pippen, whoever.
Wow.
I said Leslie Shepard,
That's
my
what's up.
cousin.
That's
That's
all
what's up.
right.
That's
And
what's up.
so and so this is definitely an honor for me. That's my blood. Love him. He's doing so many great things, and we enjoyed this conversation. And thanks once again, because we definitely appreciate it.
You know what? I got to jump in right quick, OG, because a little birdie told me that there's a podcast coming out soon with you and Brian Mitchell called Sports Gumbo.
Yeah, it should be. It should, well, you know, he dragged me. He said, "Man, we got to get on this radio, man. We got to do this podcast, man."
No, that's your thing. I think you will
This
love
is this
it.
is podcasting
can talk,
is you.
You got it. You got it.
100%.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
we're going be looking out for it probably like late August, mid-August. We're gonna try to do it before the football season. We signed with the media company called Believe, and they setting up everything for us. So we'll see how it go, man. Man, I appreciate it.
Good luck.
I think it's gonna go quite well, man. Like I said, this type of platform is you all day long, bro. This is you.
Yeah. I can speak my truth.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right, yeah. Any final words, host?
Well, I just appreciate y'all guys having me on, man. To the fam, man, you know, that's why I did what I did, man. Every time I strapped it up when I was there and played, man, I was repping my family in the DMV, man. So I have a big family in Alexandria, Maryland, and DC. And that's why I did what I did, man, for the fam. You know what I mean? So that's what's up.
No doubt.
Before we shut down, and if you all talked about Bronny already, did y'all talk about LeBron James' son?
We didn't get to that, unfortunately. Let's cover it now.
Didn't get to that.
Prayers to that young man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm gonna tell y'all a quick story real quick. And you know, a lot of people don't know about this, but maybe like 9 months ago, I was playing pickup basketball and I ruptured my patella, right? So I had to get, I ruptured it. I had to get complete surgery. I went to a gym. Bama's been trying to get me to play for like 6 months. It was like 3-on-3. Everybody supposed to be 50. I get to the gym, and obviously it's more than 3 dudes. So it's pick up basketball, become 5-on-5. I, played a couple games, sat down. They got me in one more game, going across the lane, ruptured my patella. Right. So obviously it happened. Boom! Right away, I had to go get surgery. Went to surgery. They gave me anesthesia, and I had a reaction to the anesthesia. So I went into cardiac arrest myself. So they had to resuscitate me. It took them about 1 minute and 45 seconds, almost 2 minutes. I didn't have a pulse, right? A lot of people don't know that story, right? This just happened in October this past year. So to hear what happened to LeBron's son is kind of hit home for me because I got a second chance at life. Obviously, the reason what was crazy about the whole situation is, once they brought me to, the doctor was like, now I wasn't in a hospital. I was in an outpatient center because it was supposed to be an in and out surgery. So they didn't have no medical team and none of that around me. And I just had a reaction to the anesthesia. He must have gave me too much. I don't know what the case may be. But all I know is when I woke up, my whole family was around me and it kind of threw me off. I have a different perspective. And a lot of my family don't know because I'm not really a me guy. You know what I'm saying? I just kind of, hey, God gave me a second chance on life and I'm going to make the most of it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to take nothing for granted. So when I heard that about LeBron and when I saw the youngin from Buffalo happen to him, it kind of hit home for me because I kind of just went through something similar.
Yeah.
So when, things turned out good for both of those young men, I know that, God is real and he'll do it every time. You know what I mean? So my prayers go out to him and his family, especially for the young boy. Hope it don't affect him going forward this year because I was looking forward to seeing him play.
Right.
You know what I mean? Being the son of a professional athlete, especially somebody as big as LeBron, it's a lot of pressure, man. So I was rooting for him too. So hopefully he can make a full recovery and he can get back to doing what he loved to do.
Absolutely. I don't listen too much to Stephen A. Smith a lot, but he had a word today about it saying, everybody knows LeBron has been saying he want to stick around until he can play with Bronny in the NBA. But something like this happened and then it's just, that's canceled. It don't matter right now.
No, I really don't.
Let's get him better and figure out the next move.
Once you get in your 50s, man, you lose somebody, seem like once a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right?
I think I lost 3 uncles in 3 summers. You know what I mean? And it's just crazy how that happens. You just get to the point where you can't take nothing for granted. You got to live life to the fullest. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So, tomorrow ain't promised.
That's right.
Sure.
I appreciate you, and I always like to take something back to my athlete students, and this is what I'm gonna take back to them. This quote: "Can't count your reps. You got to make your reps count." Like that stuck with me. I had to type that on my phone real quick. So thank you for that. And I let them know the Leslie Shepard said that.
How about that? All right, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Love you, cuz. Salute.
Yeah, for sure.
OG.
Love y'all, man. I appreciate
Yes,
y'all
sir.
having me
Hey,
on.
Kobe, get us on out of here, big little bro.
This
Make
is
sure
the
y'all
No Cap
bring me
Sports
back
Show
when the season
podcast.
comes,
with,
man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. This is the No Cap Sports Show podcast with Convos Collide, Sports and Convos Collide. We appreciate you joining us and showing us love. Please subscribe to this to the website and press that like button and join us each and every week, and we're going to bring you that heat. Thank you again. Peace.
Also, in terms of the audio version, you catch the audio version on Spotify, Apple, Spreaker, or wherever you get your podcast. Good night.
Bye, y'all.
Please.
There are 4 fouls on the play.
That's why it took so long.
Running into the kicker, number 34 in the kick receiving team. Holding.
Authentic.
Number 90.